Let's begin here. President Cyril Ramaphosa will today formally receive the fifth and final Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state, after much delay. Yesterday, the State Capture Commission denied claims that the delay was because of President Cyril Ramaphosa's interference with the work of the Commission. Now, let's get an update. We are now joined via Zoom by SABC News Politics editor Mzwandile Mbeje. Mzwandile, a very good afternoon to you. Of course, this is a big day. 4 years later, over R1 billion spent on this commission. Of course, the expectation is very high. What do we expect on this fifth and final report that is going to be handed over to President Cyril Ramaphosa this afternoon?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Unati, and the viewers. Indeed, it's been a long journey. It started in August in 2018 when the first sittings took place in Johannesburg to really look into this matter, into the recommendation by the public protector then, Thuli Madonsela, who had recommended that a commission of inquiry be set up, but of course that can only be done by the president, and then of course the president of the Republic had set up that commission. Then there was President Jacob Zuma at the time, and of course, Unati, this came as a result of that complaint which was submitted to Thuli Madonsela then, that there were those who were influencing cabinet appointments. There were those who were basically not authorized to meddle in terms of taking decisions of the state, and then that journey began. But of course, that probe of Thuli Madonsela was not really sufficient for her to be able to come to some sort of a determination. That is why she then recommended that a commission of inquiry be set up to really look at this specifically. And interestingly, Unati, in that recommendation was that she had said even the appointment of the judge. Remember, a commission of inquiry must be set up by the president. But she said because there was a conflict of interest, because this involved the then president, she said the Chief Justice needed to select a single judge who would be appointed by the president to run this commission. Of course, that happened, and then President Zuma then proclaimed the existence of this commission, and then in August 2018 it set, and it looked at so many issues, as you've alluded in your intro there. Now we have come to the finality of all that work. Initially, Unati, according to Thuli Madonsela, it was supposed to be 6 months. But before it even took place, the chairperson went to High Court to apply for an extension of 18 months because he realized that the work was so much, so there was so much that needed to be done. Well, even that, it turned out that he had underestimated the work. So we ended up seeing a number of extensions up until the last minute. In fact, I am standing here today, Unati. I'm supposed to have stood here 2 days ago, but because of the enormity of the work and to make sure that everything is in order, it was postponed yet again to today. So in the next hour or just under an hour, I hope we're on time, that report will be finally handed over to the president, that is President Cyril Ramaphosa.
I'm going to come back to that comment about, the delays of this report, because there are some concerns about what that means and the implications thereof. But talk to us very briefly about what state-owned entities are likely to feature in this fifth installment, of course, the SABC being one of them.
Well, this report is going to cover quite a number of issues, a number of parastatals, whether you call it SOEs, and of course a number of political players, because this happened, it's people who are part of all these things. And of course, we expect politicians, business people, and some of the CEOs to feature quite prominently in this report. So insofar as the SABC is concerned, and it comes obviously along those lines. Remember, there was what you call the New Age Breakfast show that really took place, and the Guptas were heavily involved. Remember, the main characters in the State Commission was supposed to be the Guptas, but they were not there. Just before it started doing its work, so they left the country. We now know that where they stay in the United Arab Emirates, that is in the city of Dubai, so they've been arrested. So we received that report about a few weeks ago, and obviously this has been concluded without them offering their side of the story. So we do expect the commission to, be saying certain things about them because they did not rebut some of what was said about them. So the SABC in this instance, Unathi, comes from that point of view.
Mzwai, you mentioned, of course, the delays, and you attributed some of the reasons behind it. I would imagine that Chief Justice will also try to elaborate in terms of those delays. But one whistleblower, as you know, whistleblowers featured very prominently during this state capture era. Ethel Williams tweeted that some of the sacrifice much to provide input to the Zondo Commission, the continued delays in the final report threatened the credibility of the report and the Commission. What are some of the concerns in as far as those delays? Of course, probably one of them being that, this is a very expensive exercise.
Oh, yes, Unat. In fact, you'd remember, I think on the 28th of April, we had an interview with the Chief Justice, who's the chairperson of the Commission. We posed that question to him, so in that wide-ranging interview, to say, given that you've been having a number of extensions, why right at the beginning you simply sought an extended period of time so that you'd be able to conclude your work? And then he said, they had underestimated the enormity of the work. So I guess this will come, that would be kind of the explanation that would be offered to say, well, we had already started the work, so we couldn't really afford to seek more extensions. But because we wanted the work to be done quite thoroughly, as you heard, that they wanted the Chief Justice to just check if there were no mistakes, and that is exactly what they were doing. But what that does in the process, Unat, is that it does then create a bit of confusion, concern, and uncertainty, and of course that issue of credibility you're speaking about, to say we've been waiting. Initially, this is not even supposed to have gone this long, but here we are. So what is it that is delaying this thing? But of course, we hope when we read and look at the quality of that report, so it will be worth the wait. South Africans are quite robust when it comes to these issues. So when they see something and they are not happy with it, or they suspect something, they will speak. And I think that is the beauty of our democracy. That so it doesn't matter who you are, what position you hold. So if we have something that we feel perhaps is not going right, we'll make it known. So that's exactly why they have basically said, so these delays are calling into the question perhaps the credibility of the report. But here we are now, in around 45 minutes' time, we'll see it. Or it will be handed over, and then the president, remember, will release it. He said he will release it as soon as he receives it. So we don't know whether it will be after a minute, after an hour, or a couple of hours. We know that in the past, it took a bit of hours to release it. But the fact of the matter is that by tonight, we'll be reading some of the recommendations and the findings of that commission.
Mzwai, let's leave it there for now. Thank you very much. Of course, Mzwandile Mbeje is SABC's politics editor.